Hello, and welcome to this tutorial for a basic Jitsi Meet installation. Jitsi Meet is a platform for online video conferences, which is free and open source, secure and encrypted, works directly in your web browser, on desktop and on mobile, and can be installed in the cloud, on co-location, or on your own premises. Let's split the process into 5 easy steps and talk about each one of them. You'll see my screen as I make a Jitsi Meet installation from scratch. By following the instructions, you can have your own WebRTC video conferencing platform up and running in minutes. Step number 1. Prepare a server machine. You can use either a physical or a virtual machine. Jitsi Meet can run on dedicated servers in a data center, on virtual private servers in the cloud, on a machine in your company's server room, or on your laptop. But no matter where you want to install it, keep in mind that the most important server resource is the network bandwidth. In this tutorial, we'll use a cloud VPS with 1 GB of RAM, 1 CPU with 2 GHz, 25 GB of disk space, and network of 10 Gigabit Ethernet. Of course, the end user's experience in a particular conference will also depend on the bandwidth of all the participants, but we have to make sure that on server's end, the bandwidth is as good as possible. In this tutorial, we'll use Ubuntu 16.04, codenamed Xenio Zeros, which is the current LTS, or long-term support, version. You can use any modern version of a Debian-based operating system, or the official Debian GNU Linux, or any other Linux-compatible system, but the installation may require additional steps and your mileage may vary. You'll need full access to the server. Make sure you can connect to SSH and log in either directly as root or as a regular user with full sudo rights. In this tutorial, we are logging in as a root user. We are using passwordless login with SSH key. If you are using a password login, just type your password when prompted. If you are logging in as a regular user, once logged in, switch to the superuser account with sudo su dash. As I mentioned, you need either root login or login to a user with full sudo rights. If you don't have sudo rights or sudo blocks you for some reason, contact your sysadmin. Here we are, logged in. Your best option is to have the following network ports on your server opened for incoming traffic. 80TCP, it's the standard HTTP port, 443 TCP, the standard HTTPS port, and the UDP range between 10,000 and 20,000. Now check the firewall rules. They're empty, there is no firewall. By default in Ubuntu we have no firewall restrictions, so Jitsi Meet will run even without the following firewall setup. If you don't plan to use firewall at all, you can skip this part, but as it's always a good idea to keep your server access rules organized, let's go on and configure the firewall. We choose the simplest way to set up the firewall by using UFW, or Uncomplicated Firewall, which comes installed by default in Ubuntu. If you know your way around Linux firewalls, feel free to use other tools. Let's enable UFW. And then add the rules. First, remember to allow SSH, or otherwise you risk being locked out of your server once the current SSH session closes. Then add the rules for Jitsi Meet. That's it. Now check again the firewall to see the changes. Here it is. We can use also IP tables. And here are the rules we just added. The firewall is ready. You'll also need a DNS name pointing to the IP address of the server. If you don't have a fully qualified DNS name or FQDN for this server, you can still use the IP address. But remember, this will be used for configurations during the install, and later when accessing the conferences, you'll have to use exactly what you provided here during the install, either the DNS name or the IP address. If you use DNS name during the install, you can't use the IP address to access the web conferences, and vice versa. Step number 2. Add the Jitsi repository. The installation packages are electronically signed with OpenPGP key by the Jitsi development team. First, we need to download the key from the Jitsi website. Now, before adding the key to your system's keyring, it's a good practice to check that it is valid and has not been corrupted or tampered with during the download. This shows us the ID of the key and the email associated with it. We can look up this key at an independent third-party place, a public key server. We see an entry with an ID matching the one we have, and we press its corresponding number. The key is downloaded from the server and added to the local user keyring. Now, we check who has signed this key and who is trusting it. We see there are two signatures. We import the keys of the signators to see their names and emails. The first one and the other one. So, they are Damian Minkov and Ingo Bauersachs from the core Jitsi development team. This is enough for us to be sure that there is no error and the packages we are about to install really come from Jitsi. Now we can add the key to the system. And it's done. We also need to add an entry for the Jitsi repository in the package sources lists. With this command, we do it all in one line. WebRTC works over HTTPS, so you need to have a working SSL certificate on your web server. You have three options: a paid certificate from one of the commercial certificate authorities, a free certificate from Let's Encrypt, or a self-signed certificate. If you already have a paid certificate and you won't be issuing one during the install, place the files in etc SSL and rename them as follows: etc SSL dnsname.crt for the certificate file, and etc SSL dnsname.key for the key file. Replace DNS name with the DNS name of your Jitsi Meet installation. The certificate has to be valid for this DNS name. If you don't have a certificate, you will have the option to create one during the install process. We are now ready to go on with the software installation. First, we'll update the package lists so that the packages from the newly added Jitsi repository become available. That's it. Now, the installer can configure Nginx, Apache, or Jetty as a web server. Eclipse Jetty comes with your Java virtual machine installation. And the same process that runs the media server for the conferences, or Jitsi Videobridge, also serves the web pages. Nginx and Apache, on the other hand, are standalone web servers. Both approaches have their advantages and drawbacks, so please plan ahead accordingly. If you want to have Nginx or Apache serving Jitsi Meet, just install your web server of choice in advance. The installer of Jitsi Meet checks if Nginx or Apache, in that order, first Nginx then Apache, is present, and if so, configures it. If it doesn't find such a web server, it configures Jetty. So all you need to do, if you want to use Nginx or Apache, is to install it with the following commands. apt install Nginx for Nginx, or apt install Apache 2 for Apache. This is the only difference in the install process. If you choose to use Jetty, your service will be listening only on port 443, and Jitsi Meet will be available directly on HTTPS. If you want to have a redirection from HTTP to HTTPS, you can later install manually Nginx or Apache and configure it. In this tutorial, we are just using Jetty. Now we select the package named Jitsi Meet for installation, and it will automatically install all its dependencies. The installer asks us about the hostname of the current installation. Enter the DNS name of your server, or if you don't have a DNS name and you intend to access the web conferences only by IP address, enter the IP address of the server. We'll use the option to generate a new self-signed certificate, and later we'll obtain a Let's Encrypt certificate. Once again, if you already have a SSL certificate, use the second option and upload the files in etc SSL folder. And now we wait for the installation to finish. It's done. Now we choose to have a Let's Encrypt certificate, so we execute the script called install Let's Encrypt cert in this folder. We run this file. Here we have to enter an email address which will be used for notifications and for messages from Let's Encrypt about expiration dates, etc. And the script takes care of all the rest. Okay, we're ready. Now, when the installation finishes, we are ready to test our new Jitsi Meet platform. Open a Chrome or Firefox desktop web browser and load the URL of your server. Use exactly the same address that you entered in the configuration a few moments ago. You see the welcome screen of Jitsi Meet. There is an input field with a random room name suggested by the system. You can use this random name or type a desired one in the field. When you hit enter, you will be redirected to the conference room. You will see only your own video, as there are still no other people in the room. You can use the chance to make a quick check of the lighting, background, microphone and hair. We have to allow Chrome to access our camera. So, a little more light on the foreground. And this is it. In here you can invite other participants by using the exact URL that you are right now in. All that people need to do is load the exactly same URL and they will join in an online video meeting. The conference URL is https your server DNS name /room name. That's it. Thanks for watching. Take care.